Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, welcome back. Now it's time for our first plenary session of GEEF 2025. In this plenary session, we turn our attention to education, one of the most powerful drivers of sustainable development. Higher education institutions are shaping the next generation of global leaders, but how can universities go beyond traditional academia to truly embed sustainability into learning, research, and even into action? To explore this, we're joined by distinguished leaders from global universities who will be introduced by the panel moderator director of the Ban Ki-moon Center for International Cooperation, Professor Song In-han. Professor Song, floor is yours.
Good afternoon and good evening and good morning to everyone joining us from all over the world. Thank you for being part of GEEF 2025. I'm Professor Song In-han, and I'm the director of Ban Ki-moon Center for International Cooperation and also Vice President for Student Affairs here at Yonsei University, Seoul, South Korea. It's a privilege to host today's plenary session, the role of higher education in advancing the SDGs. Coming straight from an inspiring opening ceremony, I know expectations must be very high. I'm afraid that your expectations must be very high. Whether you are fully energized or you feel already tired or still processing the heavy weight of global challenges, today's discussion will not only provide information, but also concrete and actionable strategies, because for those of us in academia, advancing sustainability is not just a topic of conversation, it's an urgent responsibility. For centuries, universities have been architects of change, shaping societies through knowledge and innovation. However, today, our role is more critical than ever, not just as institutions of learning, but as global problem solvers confronting the most pressing challenges of our time. We really live in a world where climate crisis, inequality, and geopolitical conflict threaten our shared future. Now, more than ever, universities must fully leverage all the resources to drive real solutions and lead the way toward a more sustainable and just world. This session will explore how universities can embed sustainability into higher education, moving beyond rhetoric to turn ideas into action and take meaningful steps toward a sustainable future. We are honored to have 4 distinguished speakers with us today who will share their expertise and experiences on how universities can effectively contribute to sustainable development. This session is organized with the University Global Coalition, or UGC, a network of universities committed to advancing social responsibility and sustainability in higher education. Chair of the UGC, President Arturo Kondo, will be joining us virtually, while our other 3 panelists are here on stage. Let me introduce them. Vice Provost Bernard Kipling of Georgia Institute of Technology, and President Arturo Kondo will be joining us virtually, and he is also a chair of UGC. And we have Gbemi Disu. She's a special advisor for global engagement and partnerships, Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, and she's the founding member of UGC. And finally, Professor Yoon Jung Choi is the Dean of the Institute for Higher Education Innovation here at Yonsei University. This session will run for about 60 minutes, with each speaker presenting for about 10 to 12 minutes, followed by a Q&A and discussion session. Now, without further ado, let's begin with our first speaker, Vice Provost Bernard Kaplan of Georgia Tech. He is a distinguished scholar in sustainable technology and global research collaboration. Bernard, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Song. And good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to address this audience today and participate at that wonderful conference. My name is Bernard Kaplan. I serve as Vice Provost for International Initiatives at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and really would like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present what Georgia Tech is doing in the area of sustainable development. And I'm here on behalf of our president, Angel Cabrera, who has been very active in the creation of the University Global Coalition. And so thank you again. So what I'd like to do, if you allow me, is to first maybe give you say a few words about our institution, Georgia Tech, as we call it. So Georgia Tech is located in Atlanta, in Georgia. It was founded in 1885, so we share the same anniversary as Yonsei, who's founded the same year. And currently we have about just above 53,000 students, including 26,000 students who are actually on our campus in Atlanta. We're comprised of 7 colleges, including the College of Engineering, the College of Sciences, the College of Scheller College of Business, the College of Computing, College of Design, Liberal Arts, as well as a new college we just created, which is the College of Lifetime Learning. We are a community that's highly international. We have students from 129 different countries. We are a very large research university. Our research expenditures are about $1.4 billion annually, and we're very proud of the fact that Georgia Tech has a very profound impact, economic impact on the city of Atlanta and our state of Georgia, which is measured to be around $4.5 billion. And so we're here to discuss how to accelerate the support of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as institutions of higher education. We have a unique opportunity to do that by training leaders who advance technology and also improve the human condition. And so Georgia Tech is very intentional about its support to the SDGs because of the mission statement itself, which basically makes it very clear that it's not enough to just train students who basically advance technology, but they also need to have some of the skills. They need to get involved. They need to take action in order to improve the human condition. And so our strategic plan, which is kind of our roadmap for the whole Georgia Tech community to support our mission, is basically comprised of 6 big pillars. One is to amplify impact. The other one is to champion innovation. A lot of innovation is required in order to advance the SDGs and connect globally, which makes my job as Vice Provost for International Initiatives very easy. And then expanding access, it's very important that we make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to participate and then cultivate well-being as well as lead by example. So you can see that some of the values that are guiding the development of the Sustainable Development Goals are really entrenched into our strategic plan itself, and really we're very, very intentional about that. Now, these core areas of our strategic plan also build on some core values, and the number one core value we have on our campus is that students are our top priority. And the mission statement of our office reads that we provide transformational intercultural experiences globally through trusted partnerships while striving for excellence and a culture of caring. This is very important and makes my job and the job of my team members extremely rewarding, because we are really changing lives, and we do it at scale. And this is just an example of a group of students spending a whole summer at one of our off-campus instructional sites, Georgia Tech Europe, which is located in the eastern part of France. This is the most comprehensive program we have. It's been established in 1990 and really covers activities in academia as well as in research, as well as in innovation, because intentions are not enough. You also need to make sure that you transition some of these advances and that they make a real impact and they advance the human condition. And so having good ideas, having a good strategy is of course very important, but then you also have to make sure that these objectives get completed. And so it's very important that you have metrics to measure progress. And so at Georgia Tech, we have various programs. Some are oriented towards what we call outbound. In other words, we would like to send our students, and most of our students, overseas so that they get to experience these and participate in these transformative experiences globally. And so you can see on that chart, I'm an engineer, so I like numbers. You can see the history and kind of the trends of the number of students that annually have at least one international experience. And one number I would like you to remember is that in the last academic year, 2023-2024, 44% of our undergraduate students, by the time they graduated, had participated in one of these life-changing experiences. To be compared with the US average, the number is around 9.3%, and another differentiator here is that, as you know, Georgia Tech is a powerhouse in engineering, in science, in computing, and so a lot of our students who participate in these international programs are actually students from the STEM disciplines as opposed to social sciences, where a lot of the US students who generally participate in study abroad programs, they come from social sciences or business or management. Now we build two-way bridges through these partnerships we develop worldwide, and these are two-way bridges. So we send our students into the world, but then we also attract the best talent to Atlanta and to Georgia Tech. And so you can see here the number of international students that Georgia Tech has been hosting over the years, and that number is increasing. And you can see that, again, we are highly international because the students represent or come from 129 different countries. Now, in order to really advance sustainable development and to accelerate the support of the SDGs, we truly believe that you need to have a holistic approach, one that really integrates both education as well as research, as well as innovation or entrepreneurship. And Georgia Tech is very, very intentional about the importance of that last part of the entrepreneurship, because we feel that every student, by the time he or she graduates, needs to be comfortable with the process and know about how to transfer some of that research that's being done into the real world. And so I'd like to share with you one example of one of these projects that really finds its foundations in the science, but then actually is now being developed and being implemented worldwide. And this is a project to reinvent sanitation. So currently over 3 billion people on the planet don't have access to safe and reliable sanitation. And so one of my colleagues, Professor Shannon Yee, who's shown on this picture here with some of these students, has basically developed a new toilet that is actually fully self-contained and untethered. That means that it doesn't require an infrastructure. It doesn't require to be connected to the sewer or it doesn't need to be connected to the grid. It could be powered independently by solar panels if needed. And it's really an invention that basically can have a huge impact and save a lot of lives. And it was enabled because of basic science. Basically, if you look at the phase diagram of water as a function of temperature and pressure, there is that area there that enables supercritical water oxidation, where you can implement combustion underwater. And then by using that fundamental physical process that has led to some of these inventions. So this, I should mention, is a project that was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And again, this would not have been possible without a global collaboration between many universities. I don't have time to go and mention all of them, but truly a global engagement, a global project. And I think with this, I will stop. And just to summarize my presentation, I hope I have convinced you that Georgia Tech is a convener of worldwide collaboration, and that connecting globally is really critical in addressing impactful challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you for sharing your experience at Georgia Tech. I have a quick question. How many of your faculty members in the field of science and technology are interested in sustainable development? And is there any problem to connect them with sustainable development?
I think I can answer all of them, because every single faculty member at Georgia Tech wants to support our broad mission. And our mission, again, is to train leaders who support, who advance technology, but also advance the human condition. And so I think it's really entrenched in our culture, in our core values, in our strategic plan at all levels. And I think this is really important in order to have buy-in from all faculty members that are part of our institution.
Okay, thank you. And our next speaker is President Arturo Condo of Yonsei University in Costa Rica, and he is also the chair of UGC. Arturo, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you so much, and I'm really sad not being there in person, but it's a pleasure to be at the opening plenary of this wonderful event, and such a good friend, both personally, Professor Song and Yonsei University. One thing I will say is, indeed, I'm the chair of the University Global Coalition. The vice chair and next chair of University Global Coalition is President Yoon from Yonsei University. So it is, we're colleagues and partners in these efforts, and it's an honor to be here. And it's an honor to be shared this space with the speakers in the panel, my colleagues here, and including, of course, my dear friend Ben Meduso, who is also founder of the University Global Coalition. So let me share about the coalition and what is that we're aspiring to do, what we're doing actually, but we're aspiring, of course, to grow over time and grow in reach, both geographically and in depth in terms of science and technology. So quickly, the Vice Provost Kipling mentioned it, right? It is putting the SDGs, or the goals of humanity, front and center in the strategic thinking of our universities. And not everyone is doing that. Yonsei University does it, and having an event like this is a testimony to that. But it's not common still, right? It's more common that we look inside and we ask ourselves, what do we want to do research on? What do we want to teach? What is it that we should be teaching? And yes, in some cases, or in many cases, we reach to the private sector and to the spaces where our graduates will be looking for jobs. But it's more than that. It's looking at what are the challenges of humanity. And from what I heard from you, and the opening plenary gave us a good flavor of what those challenges are today. And it's looking at those and looking inside for the capabilities and the special things that every university has everywhere, including in students, and then crafting a well-thought strategy to do that. I loved your answer, Professor Kipling, on all faculty, because if that's your mission, everyone is on board. This is a list, a map with the names of the members of the steering committee of UGC, just for you to have a sense of who is involved. One distinctive feature of our organization and initiative is that top leadership is involved. And the reason is we need, of course, faculty and students to be part of a massive, hopefully, mobilization of resources and talent and minds and hearts to change the trajectory of humanity. But if we want to make it institutional, we need top leadership. We need those, facilitating the way our university is organized, the way we set our goals, and the way we set our incentives. And top leadership is critical in that role. And so presidents, provosts, vice provosts, and are critical, are key in this initiative. And when we came together in 2019 to create and launch in September of that year, with Secretary Ban Ki-moon actually present at the launch of the initiative, it was a group of top leaders of universities from around the world that came together and decided this is an initiative worth undertaking. What's the role of this and what's the commitments we're making? To bring all our resources, right? Research is something that we, of course, think of, and the work that Georgia Tech and so many other great universities around the world are doing is amazing. We need to remember that we also have students, and to remind you all, there are at this point about 250 million university students in this planet. That's a huge number. If a small fraction of that number were to be engaged globally, were to be connected to the goal, were to be part of initiatives like this, I think we can drive change much more rapidly and much more effectively than we're doing today. And I want to say on the issue of global collaboration, it's only about 6 million of those 250 that actually have an international exposure. And so it's a big gap of those who have the opportunity, not only to travel, but to connect, understand other cultures, and understand other realities, and be part of global solutions for the global problems we face. And then engage our faculties. And I'm going to share in a minute one particular initiative, because when we come together, these like-minded and like-hearted faculty members, there's no limit to the things we can do together. And of course, we need to find the spaces, create the spaces, right? Engage with the private sector, with public sector, with NGOs, with everyone. Universities, I think, are natural conveners of society in our local turf, in our countries, in our cities, in our regions. If we connect globally, we can be conveners globally. The network can be a convener of global players and global actors. In 2023, 2 years ago, we became part of HESI within the United Nations systems, is the Higher Educational Sustainability Initiative, and the steering committee became an university leaders group. And the idea is to connect to other universities working within the UN and in different initiatives who are already doing work in this direction. And of course, the point is to, it's additionality, and bring all of us together. It's not about duplicating efforts, but to bring the initiatives that we find around the world together, and to expand the scope and the reach of all these initiatives. So let me take a few minutes and my last minutes in telling you about one particular project within the University Global Coalition, which is the SDG 2 consortium around the Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Basically, I won't go into detail, and all of you interested in food systems will know about this, but it's a systemic issue involving, of course, availability and the quality of food. In a world where almost 1 billion people go hungry to bed every night consistently, where more than 3 billion don't have the right nutrition, both undernutrition, but in some cases obesity in countries with more resources, where most, or not most, but an important number of food producers, of farmers, fishermen, and aquaculture people live in poverty and don't have enough food themselves. And finally, in the interaction with climate change, which by 2050 will be, a big challenge, or is such a big challenge today, and by 2050 we'll either meet some of the goals we've set for ourselves, or we'll be facing a difficult second half of this century. Food production and food processing and food delivery is a big part of contributes to climate change, but is also very affected by it. And so with these, systemic challenges, one thing to remember is that while we organize departments and faculties and schools, the challenges we face are systemic, and we need everyone for this, right? This is, I don't expect you to read, but the point is, food systems involve a number of systems: economic systems, biological systems, health systems, obviously, social systems that create the demand for different types of food, and political systems that define regulations geopolitically, locally, nationally, etc. So the point is that we talk about it, but the interdisciplinary nature of all challenges we face requires that we, universities, and those who are preparing leaders for the future, collaborate so that we can prepare these systemic thinking leaders. In 2021, 6 such universities came together, UC Davis in the US and Earth University in Costa Rica first. And then we included University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, University of Pretoria in South Africa, Newcastle University in the UK, and McGill University in Canada. And we've been working since then, slowly but surely, and growing faster now in a number of projects that go beyond the typical exchanges. We want to create things together, work closely together. That takes time. Creating trust takes time, takes effort. But I can tell you, and we've been doing this is a meeting we had at Earth in Costa Rica last year, in June of last year. It's highly creative, it's highly productive, and it can be very much fun, I have to say. I'm sharing this because I think if we organize around the SDGs, there is so much to do. There is so much we can contribute, of course. And it's interesting. And for our students, I can promise you, it's motivating, it's inspiring. Because youth, maybe more than in previous generations, are seeing a future that is not promised to be golden unless we do something about it. And so if we do this, if we get together, continue to do the great things we're doing and do more and connect more and scale up our impact together, we can definitely conquer the challenges we're facing and have to deal for the rest of the century. So I'll stop there for now. Our main idea is to create new models, new educational models, more collaboration so that we can have, and the leaders we prepare can have a bigger impact around the world. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Professor Song, for the next presenters and later for a conversation among all of us.
Yeah, thank you for your talk, Arturo. And thank you for being such a wonderful leader for the UGC. I have a quick question, Arturo. We have only 5 years left until 2030. And what's your plan for the post-SDG as the leader of UGC?
Well, I think it has to go hand in hand with the plan from the United Nations and the world as a whole. The SDGs were set for 2030 indeed, but of course this is a longer term vision that drives all of us. In our case at Earth University, for instance, our planning about 4 years ago was really 2050. Not because 2030 is not important as a checkpoint, but because, of course, humanity will continue after 2030. And we know many goals are not on track, right, as you know. And so, of course, we need to accelerate, but there will be things left, and a new challenge will appear, right? Right now, we're in a moment of flux, right now, at the beginning of 2025, and now we're re-understanding so many things, depending, as things evolve. So I think, humanity will continue. We'll see what incarnation or maybe an extension of the SDGs after 2030. And UGC will continue to work behind whatever version of the global goals we'll share.
Do you have any plan to expand the activities of UGC?
Yes, the idea is to invite more universities. As you saw, 190 universities have signed the basic principles, but it's a few dozen that are truly involved. And of course, it takes time to build trust, but that's also exponential, right? I mean, once you have a small number of universities working together, adding a new university is easier. It's the beginning that is, has some inertia. And we've seen it in our group in SDG2, and I think we'll continue to see it in different initiatives. And so I'm optimistic that we can accelerate that over the next 5 years for sure, and then on.
Okay, thank you very much, Arturo. Thank you. And our next speaker is Bemi Disu of Northeastern University in Boston. She is a recognized expert in global engagement and institutional partnerships. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. 안녕하십니까. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody and to be with my distinguished colleagues here to talk about this conversation. So we earlier heard from President Arturo Kondo, and I'll be speaking also as part of my role as one of the founding members of the University Global Coalition. Earlier today, we saw the young lady who spoke, who's an activist, who is very young, and I was extremely inspired by what she's done and how she got to where she is. And it led me to sort of think about my own journey and how I sort of came about into sustainability and how I got very interested in it. And I was thinking back as a young girl, I grew up in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. And I think initially that's what triggered it, just kind of seeing the impact of climate change. Nigeria is really well known for oil and gas. And so on one hand, that helps with the economy, but on the other hand, there's a lot of environmental detriments that come as a result of dependence on oil and gas as an economy. I was also very troublesome, according to my parents, and really felt that there were issues around gender equity that we faced as a culture that really bothered me and had me thinking about how we could do things differently. And so obviously seeing that as one of the key points for the SDGs is something that also, so seeing how young she started leading made me think I started a bit late, but that's sort of how I came into sustainability. And then I come from the business world originally in banking, and before that, just seeing also how sustainability and innovation can actually be channeled into having a triple bottom line was another way that drove me into this, and seeing how we have to think about not just profit, but people and planet as well. And so really, as we're all approaching it from different disciplines, it's really thinking about what brought you here, what's keeping you here, and how, given sort of the short time frame that we have between now and 2030, but even beyond, how we can each be catalysts for action to really drive this decade of action. So that's just sort of how I arrived. And then I'll speak to a bit, Arturo talked about how we have about 190 partners and what drove us to start the University Global Coalition. And it isn't without its complexities. We're excited to have so many people. I'll speak a bit about some of the challenges we've had. And one of the core important parts from a university is to have the leadership at the top really support this. And Yonsei has been phenomenal. They were with us from the very beginning and continue to support this. But some of the complexities with that include having presidents transition. They either retire or they move to other institutions. Vice provosts, the senior leaders all move. And so one of the things we've done as UGC in terms of collaboration, we really emphasize SDG 17, which is partnerships, is really ensuring the leaders endorse it and provide the access and support, but generally sort of move out of the way and make sure this permeates not just from leadership in terms of presidents and senior administrators, but they also engage the students who we think are the future. A lot of the world that we're leaving is going to impact them, and also faculty. So the core part as you're building a coalition and thinking about how institutions can build a sustainable system is to really look at how are you ensuring all aspects of the university are engaged, and as students or faculty or staff, how are you participating and contributing to sustainability or driving the strategies that the institution has put in place. So for us, that was really key, is like having presidents involved, but also thinking about how we do this together. So from an internal perspective, we set up, really led by SUNY, the State University of New York, and has since been spread out across many of our members, is to launch the SDG Awareness Week. And this typically is a student-led initiative that runs the first week in March. But it is a phenomenal program where all around the world, we pick a week where we create awareness. So here in Korea, and obviously with former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, sustainability is really well known here. However, you'll be surprised where even in lots of countries, it's either students were not aware of what they are, they don't know what they are, or there's a bit of an apathy towards it. So from a student perspective, we thought it was really important where there's this week where all around the world, using whatever resources you have all the way from Africa to Latin America to Europe to North America, is to have one week where we can have this combined effort. So we have this SDG week where students from all over the world with faculty, with staff, put together programming. And it could be something as little as having a lecture on sustainability to bring awareness, or students go out and actually do projects in society that help drive the goals. So we feel there's a lot of power in this and kind of creating the awareness, as well as ensuring that people are engaged and aware and making this, and it doesn't stop with 1 week. Our goal is beyond that, but we hope that week just sort of amplifies the importance of SDGs and what that could do in the world. So that's one way. If you're here representing, we hope you all participate in whichever way that you can. One of the things that makes me excited, when I used to be at Carnegie Mellon in Africa, just to see that a lot of people in Africa are impacted by a lot of the issues we have with climate and inequality. And so to see my students at that point really come together and think about ways that this impacts them and they can make a difference was really exciting. And we've seen this across many countries across the last few years that we've been doing that. So we really think student engagement is important, and that from leadership, it sort of permeates across. So we hope everyone continues to do that. The other thing I'll talk about is in 2019, Times Higher Education launched an impact report. And this is really interesting to see because for several years, and it still continues to be this for the first time, rankings are important, right? So in Korea, we have Sky, you're one of them, we value that, it's great. However, this took away just not from the regular rankings, right? It took a step back and said, it's great that you have successful alumni, it's great that you have people doing really well, it's great that your academics are sound, but what about the planet? What about people, planet, and profit? So really looking at the triple bottom line. And so they're looking at how universities play a role or a catalyst for change. So they launched this, and for many years, and it still continues to be, the top participants or the top people recognized don't come from the United States where I reside, right? The countries that dominate these rankings are actually Australia, the UK, and Canada. So this was a wake-up call for us to kind of think about why. There's the one university I think that's in the top 50 is my alma mater, Arizona State University, and they ranked in the 30s. But why are there not more participants in the US? We have thousands of universities, and how can we start to make this change? So the role of UGC, the role of conferences such as this in bringing awareness is really key, so that all universities in the world are really contributing and at some point hopefully going to be challenging each other to be highly ranked, not just for their academic prowess, but also for the positive impact that they're having in the world. The last thing I'll talk about is sort of examples of partnerships, again, that we've done. So we used our tangible model that you can take to go away is once we first launched in 2019, and as they mentioned, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon was there for our launch, and we worked very closely with Rockefeller and the Brookings Institute. And a model that Brookings had that we found very helpful is something they call 17 rooms. And it's a dialogue using sort of Chatham House law to sit down and bring people from all over the world, private, public, social activists, to sit down and look from a room to room, and the rooms aligned with the goals. So we had 17 goals, so 17 rooms. And this is a very helpful tool because it allowed us to bring over 100 universities. I think we had over 300 participants. So it's faculty, it's academics, it's researchers, it's students, it's NGOs. Everybody comes together and they think about how can we collaborate together to actually make a change. And during the pandemic, it switched to what we call 17 Zooms because we were all living in a digital world at that time. But that's a very tangible model that we've seen, and as UGC participants, many universities, including George Mason where I was, we've continued to use that as a way to just foster conversation, but take it away from analysis into action. And so that's something that I hope people will continue to use. It's a model that Brookings champions and has been very helpful for thinking about it in isolation in terms of, okay, as Arturo mentioned, there's SDG 2, but how does that interact with SDG 3, 4, 5? Because as we know, we are teaching interdisciplinary these days, but there's also an interconnectedness between each goal. So we're not going to achieve this by kind of sitting down and only looking at each goal differently, but thinking about how do they impact each other. So I've seen a lot of universities use that. I'm not sure if Yonsei has run one of those, but ultimately it's a very handy, practical tool that you can use to foster connections across the campus and with private and public society.
Okay, thank you. And well, as for the THE impact ranking or sustainability ranking, I really hope it would not be another competition. Another competition. As far as I know, GEEF was all around the world, all around the world. And especially several years ago, you were in Korea, and you are in a good position to compare the cultural differences. And in terms of the attitude toward sustainability, can you give us any comments about Korean universities and students' attitude toward sustainability?
Certainly, and I'll do this with trying not to get myself in trouble. I think I would say I find Korea to be very proactive. So not just the American universities here, of which I worked at one, but the Korean universities seem really committed. And I think that was what was inspirational for me when I was here, and very quickly got involved with Yonsei, because not just the center, but the variety of ways that Korean universities are engaging. So I think the complexity we have is in the States you have pockets, and I think some of the challenges we have in terms of it being adopted broadly is some of it is political in terms of sort of where your university is based and the perception of the goals and how it's tied to a certain leaning. So I think that stops some universities in the US or in the West from fully adopting it. We also saw that people work in isolation, so you could have faculty that were very engaged, but it's not something that's pervasively across different universities. But as we mentioned, we have 190 in the University Global Coalition, and many of those are American. So we're seeing a shift as we start to see the impact of climate change being very real, and seeing the floods and the weather changes and all of those different things. But I do think some of the complexities around that, it's definitely better adopted in Korea, I would say, than broadly. And some of how we try to fix that issue is to allow people to understand, because the question is, why do we care about what's happening in Mogadishu when we have problems in the US? And so the question was, well, some of the same technologies, like brilliance in logic doesn't just go from the west to the east or one way, it's a dual process. So the same issues you have in Flint, Michigan around water issues or dirty water, you could use the same filtration technology used in Africa to fix that same problem. So we really tried to communicate and educate as many universities as we could about the fact that yes, the SDGs are global, but they're also regional, they're local, and you can apply these to fixing a lot of the same problems that you would see in X part of the world, you can fix in any rural or urban city in the United States. And I think the more people start to see that and can apply it, it's helping to soften and bridge some of that divide we see.
Yeah. And this might be a bit sensitive question, but DEI is a close value related to sustainability. And in some countries, DEI is prohibited now. And how do you deal with that problems to promote sustainability?
Thank you. And how you're trying to get
Oh, yeah, very dangerous
It's a very
question.
softball question. Thank you. Ultimately, I think, without sort of stepping into any sort of political quagmire, I think you decouple it. I think, like you see, one of the issues I think maybe we've seen with DEI is it became a label, and so it's easy, or a buzzword, right? So for me, I try to step away from what the buzzword is and look at what we're trying to achieve. And I think a lot of universities are under a lot of pressure right now in certain parts of the world to eliminate the title or what it is. But ultimately, the purpose of DEI was to create a more just and equitable world, which aligns with the SDGs. And so you could get rid of the label, but the actuality of what it is should still persist. And I think you'll see pockets where people are going to try and do it. It's going to be differently resourced. It's going to be a lot more challenging to do it so obviously, but I don't think anyone can argue with the fact that it's important to have women participate in the world. That's 50% of your workforce, or the fact that we're seeing more women go to school in the United States than in other parts of the world. So I agree that it's a challenge, and I'm not sure how each university is going to have to tackle it one at a time. Public's university might have a bit more challenge than privates, but generally it's now been labeled a dirty word, and I think ultimately you can lose the label, but you can't lose the reality of the fact that we need a more just and equitable world.
Okay, thank you. How about Georgia Tech? How Georgia Tech is dealing with this situation?
Yeah, I think I agree with some of the comments that my colleague made earlier. I think DEI has become kind of a trigger word or a buzzword that can mean different things to different people. But I think what remains is our core values don't change. And so this is why we communicate very clearly what our core values are, and we're all part of a shared humanity, and so we have these core values are entrenched in, who we are, and that kind of guides our actions. And so we will continue to educate future leaders that, that have these core values.
Okay, thank you. And our final speaker is Professor Yoonjung Choi. She's the Dean of the Institute for Higher Education Innovation here at Yonsei University. She's a wonderful leading scholar in higher education policy and innovation. And she's a professor of economics. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. It's truly inspiring to see the impactful work being done by global leaders. And those work perfectly illustrate the power of universities to drive positive changes towards SDGs. Today, I want to underscore how education can be a driving force in tackling global challenges. We all recognize that, fostering a sustainable future depends on empowering the next generation with knowledge and skills to make positive change. So today, I want to introduce Yonsei University's IHE, Institute for Higher Education Innovation. Okay. So the structure of my presentation is as follows. So Yonsei University Institute for Higher Education Innovation, IHE, which I belong to, has implemented an innovative approach to integrate social problem solving for sustainability into our programs. So I want to show how we embed sustainability at Yonsei University. IHE's vision is to IHE's vision is make this higher education for a driving force for social innovation, as its mission is to foster future talent who contribute social innovation. We are actually established in 2018 as an organization under the Yonsei University president. And we operate a dual-track system, curricular program, which we call Social Innovation Competency Course, and our co-curricular program called Workstation, where student teams, they tackle real-world problem in collaboration with the diverse organizations. So by combining these two tracks and by combining theoretical knowledge they gained in the classroom with the practical experience in field, we kind of create a virtuous cycle. So let me give you the social innovation competency course. So to strengthen social innovation competency, we kind of developed new specialized courses. You can see the example of the courses and the student projects they conducted in class here. For instance, Social Innovation and Corporate CSR with the SK Sunny is a social contribution organization under SK Group, one of a Korean conglomerate. And Tech for Impact with the Kakao Impact is a social impact organization under the Kakao Group, a Korean tech giant. But also we transformed existing liberal arts and major courses by integrating social issues and problem-solving activities through various pedagogical approaches. To support this transformation, we provide various incentives, such as here, new course development honoria, TA scholarships, financial support for guest lecture, and workshop for professors and TAs. Here, students, they carry out lots of very interesting projects related to UN SDGs. You can see like population decline, marine ecosystem conservation platform, many other things. Last year, we had like about 42% of undergraduate, Yonsei undergraduate, enrolled in 243 courses, SIC courses. So why don't we hear from students?
Well, since a course is set for one semester, I guess you could say that its start and end are relatively clear.
And since the curriculum provided by the professor starts with predefined goals, yeah, I think the social innovation course might be easier for beginners to approach.
By offering social innovation courses, one can become aware of social innovation and learn from various examples.
I always recommend, well, not force, but recommend taking the social innovation course to the juniors I meet.
The biggest advantage is having an academic advisor.
Rather than just producing results for graduation or credits, I can test how far I can go.
It allows us to approach from multiple angles, and those experiences definitely help broaden our perspective or enhance quality when carrying out projects.
The class I took the year before last was one that many engineering students attended, and I was like, is this also social innovation?
Knowledge of the theoretical aspects of the specific major increases. And when that knowledge is connected to a project, you can directly feel how it is actually applied.
Yeah, so students, they reported developing a deeper understanding of global challenges and enhancing core competency such as innovative thinking, social engagement, academic knowledge, integration. Professors also express inspiration from these pedagogical changes. The student can carry out their projects, also connecting to our workstation activities. Our workstation is like 1 year round co-curricular program. So let me give you the workstation. We provide a platform for student teams to address social issues based on UN SDG and 10 major themes. We started in 2018 with less than 50 teams and less than 300 students. But last year we had 335 teams and approximately 2,000 students. You can see in this graph that most of SDGs are covered by student projects. Every year, the range of topic expands and the quality of the student project improves. It's really amazing. And then you can see lots of projects from last year. For instance, development of AR HMD-based device, which is a wearable device for independent walking of visually impaired individual and lots of other things. So why don't we hear what it means to students?
I have always had a wide variety of different things I wanted to do.
There's this excitement about making outcomes that you can experience physically or visually.
While engaging in activities, I could achieve some visible results or gain a lot by experiencing firsthand what I had only been thinking about.
Through Workstation, I was able to get a taste of these things, almost like sampling them as an exciting preview.
I think it's an opportunity to try things that I couldn't normally do.
Actually, I feel like it's an activity you can only do while you're a university student. Just being a student at this school allows you to borrow the school's name to try out my own project.
With the high satisfaction of the participating students, the results are also improving each year. The number of participating teams and students in the workstation is setting new records every year. The number of scholarship recipients, external investments, and corporate foundation teams are also rapidly growing accordingly.
Yeah, so IHA provides students team with activity expenses, scholarships, and networking opportunities, expert advice through advisor groups, and connecting to the communities, and so on. So here is the take quick look at IHA's journey over the last 7 years. And Yonsei University will continue to serve as a vital social innovation experiment platform or field to empower students to pursue their passion and embrace their challenges and gain practical experience in social problem solving at Yonsei University. I just want to add, like, it was like a source of my happiness working with a student.
Yes.
Like having like student having participating in this SIC course and workstation programs, it profoundly impact their perspective on sustainability and their actions and their lives. So I think this kind of ripple effect of the student transformation leads to broader social transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, that program has changed our students, and I'm sure that that program also changed our faculty members.
Yeah.
Did you experience that with the faculty members?
Yeah, every year it was like starting with we struggled in the beginning to kind of pursue teachers, professors having this like developing new courses, integrating social issues. But now I think they are very also how to say its number is growing, and then they are changing, and they also say lots of having inspiration from students and working together, not only in their class, like lectures, but also in lots of research activities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we have only 3.5 minutes left. So before we conclude, I'd like to invite each of our speakers to share one sentence key takeaway that you want our audience to remember. When you're ready, let's go in the same order of presentation. Bernard?
Thank you. Very difficult and tough challenge, but I will try my best, and I think my recommendation, my take-home message would be connect globally to accelerate progress towards the SDGs and empower students, because they are our hope for a better future.
Thank you. Okay, Arturo, your turn.
Thank you. Hard to follow that. That's a great summary. I would say a lot of things are already happening. So we need to connect the dots so that we can not only strengthen what is there, but create and innovate new things. I see that potential.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Baby?
I would say there's no one-stop shop. That you're never too young to lead, and there's no one way to solve the problem. So you can launch the first school of sustainability like Arizona State. You could have a voluntary university review like Carnegie Mellon. You could be part of UGC or start UGC like George Mason or have a badging process, or at my institution, Northeastern, we take our students because we focus on experiential learning. So you can do anything or everything, just do something.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Finally, Yunjung. Yeah.
It's not one sentence, but sustainability was always there. I mean, present. But even to me, it was kind of like more of feeling that, like, than a defined concept, but it was IHE and GEEF gave me inspiration. So I would say sustainability is everything, everywhere, past, present, future. So today, action starts with you and me now.
Okay, thank you very much. 2 sentences are perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for our speakers for their invaluable insights, and to all of you for your engagement in today's session. As we conclude, let's remember that education is not just about knowledge. It's about action. 60 minutes felt too short for such insightful presentations, but today's discussion is the beginning, I'm sure. I hope the ideas we've shared serve as a trigger for action and a starting point for meaningful changes. I look forward to meeting again at the next year's UGC session at GEEF 2026 to reflect on the progress we've made. Enjoy the rest of GEEF 2025. Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this first plenary session that we had today. Very insightful into the tertiary sector, education, what can be done for the SDGs. I hope it sparked some of your thoughts and some of your actions as well. Now, I have good news. And the good news is that we are breaking for 30 minutes for a quick coffee or tea or warm-up or chat. But I would invite you all to be back at 14 hours, please, for going on a journey with us to the Arctic Climate Action segment that we have planned for you from 14 hours onwards. Thanks for being with us, thanks for coming back, and get energized with a coffee.